Right, let's do it then. So, question 1. Got it in front of you? Got your pens and pencils to make additions, make some notes? So we've got a graph, quadratic function, ax squared plus bx plus c has its vertex at point 1, 7 and crosses the y-axis at 0, 2. All right, so write down the equation of the axis of symmetry. Have you got that correct? You want to tell me why? Just one? Okay, good. All right. It's x equals 1. Where did you get that from? Yeah. So we know that if the vertex is on the line of symmetry, isn't it? All right. So if we had a graph, which we don't have, we know that actually it goes through 0, 2, and its vertex is at 1, 7. Right. It's going to probably be looking something like this, yeah, where that's at 1 and 7. Actually, that line should be down a bit because it crosses at 0, 2. So that's what I'm visualizing. Made a little sketch, if you like. So the vertex is at that, so the line of symmetry falls on that line. Okay, so the line is x equals 1. It must be an equation, by the way, to get them up. So what's the value of c? Because that's the y-intercept. It's here, look. And also c can be found when x equals 0, right? Because it's got no x in there. So we could put a 0. That would make that 0, that 0. So when x is 0, so we've got this 0, 2. So we know c must equal 2. And then the hard bit, find the value of a and the value of b. So we struggle with that one. So let's write down what we know first. We've got ax squared plus bx plus 2. Y is ax squared plus bx plus 2. Oh, why did that go over there? All right, what else do we know? I mean, I've already got a sketch. I'm going to redraw mine down here. Right. What information have I been given? Yeah, vertex is at 1 and 7. It crosses at 0 and 2. All right, so my curve is going to be something like this, we think. All right. Now, how many points did I say to you in lessons that you need to be able to determine the equation of a quadratic? 3. So our 3 points are 1, 7, 0, 2, and third point. Well, we're not told a third point, are we? But we can work one out. What's the third point we can work out? Well, what was this line called? The axis of symmetry. What does an axis of symmetry mean? So if I know this one's at 0, 2, surely if I go across the other side, I can work that one out, no? What's the coordinates of that one then? 2 and 2. So I've got a third point at 2, 2. Now actually we've already used the 0, 2 to find that, so I only need these 2 now. All right, so I've got 2 points, 1, 7 and 2, 2. How do we go about finding the equation then? Now I've got 2 points that I can use. the x. So what does this point tell me? It tells me that a multiplied by 1 squared plus b multiplied by 1 plus 2 is going to equal what? Or what number have I not used? 7. It's equal to y, yeah? The y coordinate is 7. So what's this one going to tell me? A multiplied by 2 squared plus b multiplied by 2 plus 2 equals 2. All the 2's. Right. But remember, we could simplify this. So my first equation, this one, but simplified, is going to equal what? Well, a multiplied by 1 squared is a plus b. Now, do you remember we can simplify this? If we subtract 2 from both sides, we get that equals 5. What's the second equation? 4a plus 2b. What should we do here? Subtract 2, subtract 2. So that equals 0. So I simplified it for a good reason. Well, actually now there's a couple of ways we could do this. We could do it by hand, some paper, or we can use our calculator. Remember how to use your calculator to do it? So, is it going slow? How am I going to use my calculator? Do you remember what? What do we do? Can't remember? No? I'm going to apps. I don't have it. But what do you have on there? Pardon? Yeah. So you're looking for the, how's it spelled? PLYSMLT2? Yeah, so you're using the apps, right? If you start that, what are your options? Okay. That's the one we want, isn't it? Simultaneous equation solver. So put that in. And what are your options? Okay, number of equations. How many equations do we need? 2 equations. What's the next thing? How many unknowns? Nope. 2. 2 unknowns. Now the fractions and decimals, it just depends whether you want it to be in fractions or decimals. So up to you for that. All right, what can we do now? So we've picked 2 equations with 2 unknowns. So what can we do? Just put in. What's next? What do you get on your screen? So you get a matrix, yeah? And has it got numbers in? Like, does it look 0, 0? Has it got a line and 0? And 0, 0, line 0. So what do we replace these things with? So these zeros, the top line, are going to represent these things. So instead of a 0, I should have 1, because I've got 1a. The next 0 is also 1, because I've got 1b. The line is for the equal sign, so this 0 needs to be 5. Right. What's the next line supposed to be? Instead of a 0, it needs to be 4. Instead of the next 0, it needs to be 2. And this needs to be 0. And then what do you do? Solve. This is your matrix. Okay. And what do you end up with? So x1 equals, negative 5. x2 equals 10. So what does that mean in terms of our A's and B's? A equals negative 5. B equals 10. Does that make sense, by the way, that A is a negative number? Because I've been drawing the curve up this way. It had to be because my vertex was above my y-intercept, so it had to be up that way. But for a quadratic to be up that way, A must be a negative number. That makes sense? That question? Could you replicate that in the future? Okay, with a bit of practice. All right, next question then. We've got A multiplied by x plus 4 multiplied by x minus 2. Following down. Write down the value of P and Q. So you're pretty good with this, so you know that these are the solutions to this equaling 0, aren't they? So the solutions to A multiplied by x plus 4, x minus 2 equals 0, well, those two solutions would be P and Q. All right. So what are the solutions? Well, one of the solutions will be negative 4, because negative 4 plus 4 makes 0. And the other solution would be positive 2. So we've just got to get them the right way around. So obviously P has got to be the negative 4, and Q has got to be the 2. All right. Easy enough. Right, here's the one where people struggled a little bit with, because it says show that A is negative 2, and you're not allowed to use the negative 2 to show that negative 2 is the correct answer. All right? You've basically been told what the answer is, and you've got to find it yourself and confirm it. All right? So how do we go about doing it? I maybe didn't leave you much room in that space, to be honest. But we've got some up here. So how can we show that A is negative 2? No? Is there nothing on the graph that could help us work stuff out? We've got 3 points. So we've got this one, and we've got this one. Okay. So how would they help us? Which one could we use? Any of them? All of them? How? Okay. But I've got no plus C up here, so what would I need to do? No ideas at all? We must have some ideas. We've been like looking at coordinates, and you know what a coordinate is. What's a coordinate? What are the 3 coordinates? What's the coordinates of this point? Negative 4 and 0. What are the coordinates of this point? 2 and 0. What are the coordinates of this point? 0 and 16. What are coordinates again? So what's the 0? We've got x is 0 and y is 16. And what does this tell you? That y can be found by doing a multiplied by x plus 4, x minus 2. Now, you already told me that 16 is the y-intercept, but this is not in that form. So I wouldn't do it your way, but you have told me a way that I could do. So what do I do to this to try and put it in a form where we've got a plus c? What would you do? Yeah, expand the brackets, yeah? So let's do it. Expand the brackets. What do you get? Well, let's leave the a for a time being. X squared minus 2x plus 4x minus 8. Okay. Simplify it. Well, let's do x squared plus 2x minus 8. Now we can expand the a, and what do we get? Okay. What do you now know about this number at the end? Nope. Negative 8a is something. What have I got here now? I've got a, I've got b, and I've got c. So where's c on the graph? Yeah. So can't we say that the negative 8a must be the same as 16? So if negative 8a equals 16, what must a be for that to be true? Negative 2. Yeah. 16 divided by negative 8 is negative 2, which is what they wanted me to show, yeah? All right. So we've shown that a is negative 2. All right. You writing that down? Should I wait for you? Next then, find the equation of the axis of symmetry of the graph. Where's the axis of symmetry? Okay, so it's there, isn't it? Right down the middle. So it's down the middle. So which one is it? Negative 1 or negative 2? I don't know. I thought you said 1 or 2. But I want the equation of the axis of symmetry. And how do you get there? What equation? Oh, you put this one in, yeah? That is one way. Now I know that a is negative 2. Yes, you can do that. Use the information given. So you can put that into your calculator and work it out. All right. There is another way, though, which is the axis of symmetry has to be halfway between negative 4 and 2. Yeah. So how would I do that as well? Negative 4 to 2 is a difference of 6. So split that in half. That's got to be 3 and 3. So what's 3 away from negative 4? Negative 1. So you can put it in the graph, or you can do it that way. So the axis, again, the equation of the axis of symmetry must be x equals negative 1. Calculate the maximum value of f. or the maximum is the same as the vertex. So you go and work that out in your calculator, which is, so when I say the value of f, I am looking for the y coordinate. What does y equal? So y will equal 18. Again, you can find that on your calculator, but how else could I do it if I didn't have the graph in front of me? Well, I now know its y is negative 2 x squared. No, actually, it's not what I've got. I've got negative 2 multiplied by, what is it, x plus 4 and x minus 2. And I know that the vertex lies on which line? What? Well, what was part C? No? The vertex, where is it? The maximum value. And where is it? Which line does it? This is the point that they're asking you for. What's the maximum value? 18. Now, you found it on your calculator by putting in maximum, I presume. Yeah. But how could I do that if I didn't have the graph in front of me? Where does the maximum or the vertex lie? Which line? Axis of symmetry, yeah. And what do I know about the axis of symmetry? X is negative 1. It doesn't have a y value, the axis of symmetry. It's x equals negative 1. But if I know that the vertex or the maximum is on that line, it makes sense, then I can put in x equals negative 1 into here. All right? So I would get y is negative 2 multiplied by negative 1 plus 4 multiplied by negative 1 minus 2. So that would be negative 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by negative 3, which turns out to be 18. So whichever way. It needs to be exactly 18, I'm afraid, yeah. Okay. Now this was one. Interesting, so I gave you the clue, the lesson before for your studying. Write down the value. Do you know what this form of the equation is called? This is called vertex form. All right. And vertex form is because the h value and the k value, all right, are the coordinates of the vertex. All right. Write down the value of h. Okay. So the value of h will be negative 1. And the value of k will be 18. So that's why that form is useful, because you can, that's another form of the equation, right? Okay. So repetition, repetition, lots of same stuff every time. So you're going to stop saying, I've no idea how to solve these things. Right? Graph passes through the point, show that a is negative 2. Again, you're not allowed to use the negative 2. How would you do it? Say again? Put in the x value. What would the x value be? A. I need the y value as well. What's the y value? Negative 24. So what do? I use this and I write that a multiplied by 8 minus 4 all squared plus 8 has to equal negative 24. So therefore, we've got a multiplied by 4 squared plus 8 needs to be negative 24. So that is 16a plus 8 negative 24. So what do we do next? Subtract the 8. That gives me 16a is equal to I'm at negative 24 and I'm going to subtract another 8. It's going to go even more negative, and it's going to be negative 32, right? So just to start again, 16a is negative. What's the next step? Divide both sides by 16. I get 1a must equal negative 32 divided by 16. Just happens to be negative 2. Right, now find the x-intercept of the graph. What would you do? Yeah, again, we've now got an equation, haven't we? We've got y equals negative 2 x minus 4 squared plus 8. We put that into our graph. Yeah, what do you end up with? X equals 2, x equals 6. Okay. Would you know another way to do that if you didn't have the graph and your calculator in front of you? Similar, but we weren't asked it, but similar sort of thing. What do we know about the x-intercepts? We know that the y value is equal to 0. So we would try and solve minus 2 multiplied by x minus 4 squared plus 8 is equal to 0. So let's just have a quick go at that rather than use our graph and our calculator. What would you do first? I wouldn't actually, no. Expanding the brackets is not always the way to go. I want to get rid of stuff first. So let's get rid of the 8. So let's subtract the 8. And let's do negative 2 x minus 4 squared is equal to negative 8. Now what can we do? Divide by negative 2, yeah. So I'm going to leave with x minus 4 all squared is equal to negative 8 divided by negative 2. So that gives me x minus 4 squared is equal to, what is negative 8 divided by negative 2? 4. Okay. Now we can square root both sides because we've got squared. So if I square root both sides, what do I get? Well, I get x minus 4 on one side, but what do I get on the other side? 2. Do I get anything else? Because the square root of 4 is also negative 2. All right? So now what do I get? I've got x minus 4, so I need to add 4 to this one, which leaves me with x equals 6. And I need to add 4 to this one, which leaves me with x equals 2. So we've confirmed it. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you using your calculator at all. I'm just sort of going through these motions just in case, you know, you have to show your answer, you know. All right. This was a tough one. When I read it, I was like, you know, This is a difficult question. This is kind of the top end stuff. So it says, given that f of m is equal to f of 7, f of 7 is equal to f of m. Do you know what this means? M is integers, whole numbers. But you're right, m is an element of, it's saying m is an integer, a whole number. And then it says m is not 7. Why is that true? Because we've already used 7. So there are two possible answers, which give. So you know with quadratics, there's normally two things that equal the same thing, yeah? Right. So what we want to know is, what does f of 7 give me? So what can we do first? So f of 7, we could work that out. We've got -2 multiplied by, what was it, 7 minus 4 squared plus 8. What does that give me? So we've got -2 multiplied by 3 squared plus 8. So that's -2 multiplied by 9 plus 8. -2 multiplied by 9 is -18 plus 8 is equal to 10. So now what I'm going to do is I need to solve where the other one is. So I've got to solve where -2 x subtract 4 squared plus 8 is equal to 10. Now we've already been through this process. So the reason why I wanted you to go through this is because now you have to do it. You can't. Well, actually you could do it on your graph. We'll go through it on our graph, but how can I do this algebraically now? First step, -8 gives me -2 x minus 4 squared is equal to 2. Next step, divide by -2. So what's 2 divided by -2? -1. Now I square root both sides. Oof. Got a problem there, haven't we? We've done something wrong. Why is it a problem? Can't take the square root of -1. So have we done anything wrong anywhere? Have we done anything wrong here? Yeah, we have done something wrong. New spot. It's a simple spot. I can't see anything I've done wrong here, so I'm going to look in this line and think, have I done anything wrong? Because obviously this number was used here, right? So maybe there's something wrong here. Can you spot anything? Should be -10, shouldn't it? -18 plus 8 is -10. So that means that -10 subtract 8 is not 2 now, is it? But it's -18. And -18 divided by -2 is not -1, but 9. And then the square root of 9, well, that's nice enough, which is 3. So we've got x subtract 4 has to equal 3, or x minus 4 has to equal, what's the other square root of 9? -3. So we solve these and we get, add the 4, and we get x must equal 7, that's the one we know about, so we can forget that one. So it must be this one. So we can add the 4, and we get x must equal 1. So there's my other one, yeah? Determine the value of m. So m equals 1. Right. Now, how can we do that on our calculator? Because it's good. We should, if we can solve everything on our calculator. It's really nice. So I think like you were already doing, let's put in the equation. So -2 brackets x minus 4 squared, and then we've got +8. If I draw my graph, there you go, fits on my screen nicely. Right, what do I want to do then? Well, I need to know what f of 7 is. And what's f of 7? How would I do that on my calculator? How do I find when x is 7? What's the f of 7? Could do table. Yeah, that's one way. Let's do second table. I can scroll down, look. I can find 7. Look, -10. It's nice, good. Right? Do you notice on the table already another value that's equal to -10? 1. Yeah? So done. So that's a much quicker solution, isn't it? Much quicker way. All right. Not necessarily worth the 4 marks, but unless you're told otherwise, you can do it. You know, you do it that way. You get your answer, get your 4 marks. I think these questions are older ones where, you know, you'd be expected to be able to do it a long way, but you're not. You can use your calculator for all of them. Got that? Any questions on that? Want to write that down at all, or you've already done it? Okay. All right. Repetition then. Is this the final question? Right. Same sort of stuff though, can you see? G passes through the point. I'm going to use it here. Should we go through this final question instead? Because we've only got 7 minutes. Let's go straight to the final question, because this one is super easy. Yeah, super easy. But some people lost marks. So the charge of a mobile phone battery in millicoulombs as a function of time is modelled by that quadratic. Write down the charge of the battery when it is fully charged. So what do we know when it's fully charged? Well, the model is a function of time, is the charge as a function of t hours after it has been fully charged. So when is it fully charged? When t is 0. And how do we know from the function when t is 0? Yeah, it's just that number, isn't it? It's the y-intercept. So we know that the charge is 30. We should put units in a question. Should. Doesn't matter. 30 is it. Find the charge of the battery after 10 hours of use. Right, so what we're doing, we're saying when t equals 10. How would you go about working that out? You just put it in, couldn't you? What's another way though? Go to our calculator, right? That's why this one's super easy, because you don't have to find the equation or anything. You just have to put in 0.005 x squared subtract 0.735 x plus 30. And what can I do? How do I find when t is 10? I'm going to use the table and scroll down to when t is 10. Is that right? No, that's 901.15, yeah. Yeah? What did you get? Okay, so what have I done wrong then? Did you spot anything? Hey? Always got to double check, haven't we? Go to, tells me what I've done. It doesn't like the square. I need to delete the square. Right, delete. Because do you know what happened? Well, it can happen in an exam. You put a value, put a new equation in, but it doesn't delete the old one. I've kind of inserted, and then it gives me my answers wrong. So it can be so easy to get the wrong answer just by not paying full attention. So I want second table, and now look, 23.15 instead. That looks better, doesn't it? How would I know this answer is wrong, by the way? Say that again, sorry. No, T was 10, look. But what was the maximum charge? What was fully charged? So how can it go up to 901 if maximum is 30? It can't, can it? It's going to be less than 30 if 30 is maximum. So I'm just showing you there, it can be quite easy to make a mistake. But you know, if you reflect on your answer, that cannot be right. And just to go and check, where is the mistake? Okay. When the charge on the battery is less than 5, the phone will no longer turn on. If the phone is fully charged on Sunday at 2 p.m, determine the day during which the phone will no longer turn on. So what we do is we need to know, when is the battery less than 5? So actually, if I'm in my table, I can just keep going, keep going, keep going. It's going to take me a while, but I am going to get there. I could do it in a different way, but I'm already in this screen. So let's keep going, keep going, keep going. Less than 5. It is 54 hours. So I think that's easy enough, yeah? But what day is that? So we've got 48 hours is 2 days. So we've got 2 days plus 6 hours, yeah? So 2 days on from Sunday at 2 p.m, well, 6 hours would be 8 p.m, so we don't need to go another day, but it's worth checking. So actually, we just need 2 days on from Sunday, and the answer is Tuesday, because it asks which day. All right. So lots of repetition there, and you are going to need to make sure you can replicate that for next time. Okay.